Coming up, the Broncos roast the Roosters, the Saints are slayed by French dragons, and the Rhinos got denied by a wall of black and white. Yes, hello and welcome to the 20th episode of the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Henry, I am Connor Marcellus, and today we begin our debrief for rounds 11 and 12 of the NRL. God, time flies, doesn't it?
It definitely does. Considering this time last season when it was a bit of a stoppage, it's flown by this season, which in a way is good, but in a way it's bad because it's been such an exciting season as always.
Well, controversial to say the least. And let's start off round 11 of the National Rugby League by looking at the first result. The North Queensland Cowboys recording a win over the Newcastle Knights, 36 points to 20.
Cowboys were just too good.
To begin with,
yeah, but the Knights came back and then...
two sin bins later.
Yes, thanks to Tolomolo and Lachlan Burr, again. I think that's 2 weeks in a row Lachlan Burr's been sent to
I
the
think
sin
that
bin.
might actually be the case.
Yeah. But you think Goody will learn his lesson, but no. But it cost the Cowboys, as we know, the Knights put, you could say, 20 unanswered points on them.
Well, you could say that, but, 16 all at half time. You say 3 tries, but after that, they couldn't throw anything at the Cowboys.
No, they couldn't really. You've got Tyler Mullo in the pack.
When he wasn't in the sin bin.
When he wasn't in the sin bin, but yeah. But you can't really stop Tyler Mullo.
No, you can't.
Well, you couldn't really stop all of them either.
And as it turns out, you couldn't stop Murray Talagi either.
No, he had a hat-trick. Wasn't his first in his career, I believe?
Well, yeah, I think that might have been. We can double check on that later. But 3 tries, 192 running meters, 4 line breaks, and 10 tackle breaks. That means 10 tackles. The Newcastle Knights' right edge defence missed on him.
That's true. Which the Knights will need to fix up.
And down the right edge again, they really need to address the right edge.
Like they pretty much have done all season. Hopefully... it might be a little too late to try and fix that right edge up. It could happen. We just have to wait and see with that one.
And another of a good highlight was Helam Lukey scoring on debut in his first game for the Cowboys.
Yes.
And I believe he was also sin-binned either in lead-up... after he scored the try, he got sin-binned.
Lukey, no, he didn't get sin-binned.
Oh, I thought he did.
It was Tolomolo and Burr.
Oh, I thought he got sin-binned. My bad.
No. Yeah, but at try and debut, we've been seeing a lot of them quite frequently, more often than not, so far this season. Which it's good young talent coming through, so it's good to see.
It definitely is, but where Adam O'Brien goes from here, because Odd Payton's now starting to even things out after a shaky start with North Queensland, and given the recruitment drive that added Peter Hiku to his 2022 roster improvements on top of Todd Omdearden and Chad Townsend, one would have to think the Cowboys are slightly starting to rebuild. It's easy for me to say that given they're 4-7 at the moment, or even in a better position than what I just said.
But the Cowboys, they didn't look like they were going to be going this well at the beginning of the season. We thought, they're in the contender for the spoon, but they're slowly creeping their way up forward. But whether or not they make a top 8, I don't think so.
I think it would be a very thin stretch of the imagination that North Queensland actually qualifies for the top 8 this year.
But next year might be a possibility. But going back to Adam O'Brien and Knights, I don't know what he's going to do. But with the announcement of Blake Green immediate retirement, we could see Jake Clifford coming down to Newcastle half a year earlier than expected, so that might be.
So you're thinking he makes his debut against the Eels in round 13, I believe it is?
Yeah, I reckon he will. And then with the potential talks of Matt Lodge, is that also this year?
Yeah, effective immediate as well.
So them 2 players could potentially boost the Knights out of their, you could say injury crisis as well, so that might be the turning point, getting Jake Clifford a half a year early and bringing Matt Lodge in.
Now, moving on, we have the New Zealand Warriors 30 downing the West Tigers 26. I'll tell you what, this game, it's only a pity there wasn't a primetime audience on it.
No. But it still drew... Well, the attendance at the match overall was 7,009, so... the Tigers could have won that,
It looked like it.
but you had to say Reece Walsh.
Reece Walsh. Reece Lightning. That's what they've nicknamed him down at Gosford. He is Reece Lightning.
Well, he had that week when he had 2 weeks ago he come off the bench. Not the week just went, the one before round 10, he came and played a few more minutes, but this week just went by, he played the full 80 minutes, as two of us went to the win, and it proved that he is an 80-minute player and he needs to be out there from the first whistle to the last whistle.
Oh, well, it's reflected in what his stats ended up being. 1 try he scored in the first half with that beautiful swan dive early before the try line. 3 try assists, including 1 for his skipper and RTS, and then some beautiful ball out on the left edge for Marcelo Montoya. That was just beautiful to watch.
It definitely was.
3 try assists, 140 running meters, and 2 tackle breaks. So he'll get better as he goes along, especially with the mentor he's got in RTS.
Well, and he's with RTS mentoring Walsh for this, you could say, rest of the season. And then with RTS leaving, Walsh should have enough experience by then to absolutely dominate and lock down that fullback position there at New Zealand.
At the same time, the Tigers, just another case of so close, but yet so far.
Yeah, very much so. Look, I don't know who to stand. Well, Luke Garner got a double, 10 minutes apart from each other, so that's a bonus.
And then the captain's effort from James Tarmo when things were looking a bit dim, I think at about...
the 78th minute Tarmo scored, so they could have... Dewey did get the kick in the same minute, so they did try to do it quick to try and get the ball back and get down there and score again.
And it literally came down to the final minute where it could have gone to golden point.
It could have. I reckon both teams could have deserved and won that match, but the Warriors are just a better team to edge out that one.
Well, I think the Tigers' edge defence needs to be addressed again.
That's been the same talking point since pretty much round 1 onwards. The defence, or especially that right edge, is...
The left edge is also susceptible as well.
Yeah.
Just the way the Tigers have been letting them in. I mean, you had RTS make a long-range break that set Jack Murchie up back through the middle. Then you had some lovely ball working through the hands of the halves up for Reece Walsh, who dives for the corner. And then, of course, the long ball where, he threw one that almost got intercepted, but it was a knock-on from Tommy Talau. Yeah. Then he goes back down that same edge, does the same thing again, and this time it actually sticks.
Yes. It's just too classy. Like, the Warriors, that's what it came down to, who had the better class, and it was the Warriors at the end. Yes, we're going to talk about it again. Sin bins, this time there was another 2. Ben Murdoch-Masila.
That was a professional foul.
Minute, yes. It still was a sin bin. And Eli Katoa, exactly 10 minutes later. So when Murdoch-Masila came back, Katoa was gone.
Yeah.
So 20 minutes down to 12 men, and they still managed to hang on and win. It just shows that the Warriors are there or thereabouts.
Well, speaking of hanging on for the win, the Cronulla Sharks, after a month and a half of misery under Josh Hannay, they finally come up with a win over the St. George Illawarra Dragons, 13 points to 12.
And now we're in a misery of our own, because we haven't won a match for, I don't know, it's been a fair while now, it feels like it anyway.
When was your last win, actually?
We lost Anzac Day.
Well, probably since round 9.
Probably. 9 was our... Yeah, it's been a while. It feels a lot longer than what it has been, but...
It's just one game a week, stretch it out by 7 days each.
Yeah.
It can feel like a lifetime.
Yeah. But how the hell did Corey Norman miss 2 field goal attempts?
Considering that he is the Dragons' field goal specialist when it comes down to the crunch time.
Yep. That one slipped away for us. But Golden Point, it really was the edge of your seat match. For the Sharks though, Chad Townsend, they got down into the right field position, like, was it 30 or 20 metres out, I think it was, and he just slotted it over.
Well, that just shows the pendulum swinging. Just the Sharks were able to have it swing late after, I think, charge down from the Dragons, gave the Sharks possession back 2 minutes out from the end of the first half period of Golden Point. There was no way you could defend it unless you could charge it down again.
Which they tried to do, but ultimately failed.
But honestly, Mawene Hiroti, he is probably the most relieved man in all of Cronulla right now.
Yes, very much so.
Because we were still getting over the fact that Corey Norman missed, and then listening, well, particularly to the Channel 9 commentary, it's just like, oh no! And it's just like, whoa, what the hell happened? Next thing we know, tap from the 20, Hiroti knocks on, Dragons get the scrum 20 metres out. I'm just like, who misses that?
Yeah. It was just like...
Words could not describe. Probably, oh no, comes first. And it's just like, there's nothing after that. It's just like, you're like dumbfounded.
Yeah. Like, well, I think the whole Dragons team and coaching staff and fans and members and all that were dumbfounded about how we lost. But, give credit where credit's due. Sharks, they stuck it in. They were winning.
Defense was
6-2
key for the Sharks early, but then 2 quick-fire tries from Max Fearguy in the second half made things very interesting up until the final few minutes of Golden Point.
But, controversy. This is bias coming out of me, which doesn't happen often. Paul Vaughan's sin bin should have not been a sin bin. It was an arm across the bottom of the chin.
Well, apparently the chin counts as the head, unless you're willing to say the chin is not part of the head and is part of the shoulders.
It was hardly a hit to the head. But no, it had to be a sin bin. I think the Dragons are the team that has severely suffered the most since the crackdown in Magic Round.
Well, I'll tell you what could have been a send-off. I think it was the Josh Dugan when he got sent to the sin bin late.
From Cody Ramsey, like whacking Cody Ramsey.
Right across the middle of the face. I honestly thought, that could potentially be a send-off.
Yeah, but no. And we lost Cody Ramsey to the rest of the match.
Well, 18th man came in, Adam Clune went onto the field. Not really a loss. Well, is a loss, but the 18th man sort of compensates for that.
Yes, but we still lost speed. And without Dufty, Ramsey was probably the next quickest at the club. So I'm not saying Feagai and Pereira and all that aren't fast, but Ramsey was probably the next quickest. But it is what it is, and we move on.
Yep, and moving on, indeed, we have the Gold Coast Titans downing the Canterbury Bulldogs 30 points to 20. Now, this is a game that really could have gone either way late in the second half.
It definitely could have. And I heard that it's the first time the Bulldogs have scored 20 all season. The previous best was 18. So they're improving.
You want to keep rubbing this in, don't you? Just because I remember back to the Good Friday coverage about how Penrith had scored. I don't know who it was, but I think it was maybe talking Ryan Pappenhausen that scored more points than the Bulldogs had all year.
Yeah.
It's just there was the comment about how Matt Thompson would not be welcome in the Canterbury Bankstown area.
No.
But getting back, you'd almost think the Titans, this was a danger game. I mean, not that the Titans should be troubled by the team that's running last, but...
The only thing that let the Dogs down, I feel, was the 2 missed conversions. It would have been... It would have only put them up to 24, but... It could have changed how the game was played if he had the 2 extra kicks. But it wasn't to be. Yet again, a 3rd straight game. No, 4th straight game, I believe, with a sim pit. At least 1. But this time there was 2. Titans were just too good. AJ Brimson, though.
AJ Brimson.
Good thing that they locked him up long term.
Honestly, he's my 14 for Queensland. I mean, we're not going to announce origin sides yet because a round of football can still prove a lot of the chaos.
Yeah.
So, but honestly, under best conditions, I would have AJ Brimson as my bench utility.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's just playing too good to not play in the rep.
I mean, if Ponga or Holmes were missing, and there is actually talk that Cameron Munster is in doubt for Origin 1.
Ooh.
So if he doesn't make it, AJ goes to 5'8".
Fair enough. He's got the capabilities.
But as for the Dogs, there's still improvement in them. I mean, the results don't show, but the right edge of the Dogs was definitely busting guts out.
There's been improvement in the Dogs all year. Well,
in patches. In patches.
But
I think Gold Coast should really make sure their middle defence is tightened up. Just allowing Luke Thompson to score. I mean, Luke Thompson's a very good front rower in his own right, but to allow that late when the game's in the balance at 24-20, I mean, they only got lucky AJ Brimson was able to put the game beyond reasonable doubt within the last 5 minutes.
Yes. I think that when Origin comes up, the Dogs' draw is obviously tough. But with Origin coming up, they could spring a surprise or two. Because I don't think the Dogs will be affected by Origin this year.
You're a funny man. You know that? You're a funny man.
Yes, I know. But who knows? Still a long way to go. And Origin, anything can happen. Who knows? Might see a surprise a Dogs players getting thrown into the Origin camps for either the Blues or the Maroons. But we never know.
Now, the upset of the round here. The Brisbane Broncos down in the Sydney Roosters 34 points to 16. This would actually have to be the Broncos' first win against the top 4 side, probably within the last 3 years.
It's been a long time between drinks. And we finally got to see Suwali play.
You know what? I actually forgot. I mean, I know Joseph Suwali was there when Josh Morris got ruled out, but
he didn't really have a big impact.
The Broncos, just where did they come from?
Nowhere. Absolutely from nowhere. But I'll give him credit to Albert Kelly. And, well, David Mead as well.
That try John Asiata scored. I mean, I know I got David Mead as my standout player for the Broncos. I mean, 3 tries, 232 running meters, a line break and 2 tackle breaks, like he was playing for the Gold Coast in his prime.
Yes.
But that was crazy just for John Asiata to score that try.
I think the whole match was crazy.
Oh, all right, here we go.
I am lost for words. I do not know, especially the last 10... I'm going to say the last 10 minutes of the match was absolutely nuts.
Mental. But I'll tell you what is mental. Victor Radley. Now, at the moment, at the time we're recording this, I know we upload on a Thursday, but we're recording this on Tuesday night. Victor Radley is still in front of the judiciary on 4 accounts of being reported for head-high contact.
2 of those he was put in the sin bin for.
I thought he got put in the sin bin on all 4 accounts.
No, he got sin bin twice.
But that for me,
on report
I mean,
4
not
times.
taking anything away from the Broncos' win, because that was an unbelievable performance that they put in, a good 18-minute performance that they did. But Victor Radley, I mean, come on! I mean, how many times have we seen a chaser come through on the kicker and he gets cleaned up like that? How many times have we seen it?
Multiple times.
How many of them get penalised? Because I bet you, up until now, none of them would have got penalised unless it was, really late.
Yeah. No.
And I mean, all right, second effort on Pangai Jr., I do admit, that should have been placed on the report. But some of those, I mean, come on. That was just... I was just filthy watching that game because I could not believe what I was seeing out of that.
Well, I couldn't believe that Radley got sin bin twice, got put on report 4 times, and then find a result. I just can't believe it.
I can't speak for that result. That was just diabolical. I mean, I know you're going to have Andrew Abdo and you're going to have Peter Volandis and all the head concussion experts could be like, well, if we didn't have these crackdown measures in place, we'd lose the game within 30 years. Well,
that's true.
Honestly, I'd also say we'd probably lose the game in 30 days if we continue the way we're going.
Well, that too. It's standout player for the Roosters, I reckon, Angus Croyton.
Yeah, and he's also been charged, but he's also in front of the judiciary to get it downgraded to a 1-match ban. Pretty sure that's the case.
I think so. Apparently, as the schedule says, it should be onto Angus Croyton's case now at 7:30 p.m. Australian Eastern
Standard Time.
I'm just still going to have it. But I think Victor Radley's hearing is still in progress, which was going to take a long time considering it was 4 separate incidents.
So that's 4 sets of paperwork you got to work through with that.
Yeah. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Well, we probably won't keep you up to date with that, but
yeah,
we just thought we should mention it because it does affect the Roosters and the Blues heading into State of Origin. Now, the Canberra Raiders going down yet again, 34 points to 10 at the hands of the Melbourne Storm. But it didn't seem that way, did it?
Well, they were down by 2 at the break, 12 points to 10.
The try that Bailey
Melbourne.
Simonson scored off that George Williams second kick.
In the first minute.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. I thought, oh, hello, the Raiders going to make a contest of this one.
Yeah, no. But no one had scored between Elliot Whitehead's try in the 13th minute and the Sofa Salamotors in the 33rd minute. So it was a 20-minute period where it was up in the air. But then obviously from the 33rd minute onwards, Storm put the foot down.
And the foot down through the middle with the cheese.
Yes.
142 running meters, 3 try assists, 3 tackle breaks, and 1 offload. And I bet you, most of those tries, he was either setting up Big Nelson, who scored a double.
Yes.
So allowing front rowers to score doubles, that's big no-no.
No. Not in modern times, no.
And then Tom Eisenhuth, who was playing out in the edge, that was probably also not good.
Chris Lewis through
He
the
was
middle.
playing 5'8" in that game.
Well, they've got pretty much no one else.
Well, surely they would have had another option. I mean, I know they did draft Cooper Johns in, but surely they had another option in there somewhere.
Well, they wanted to spice things up a little bit, and certainly they did.
Well, I suppose you got to do what you got to do when you're playing in the Melbourne Storm side. You got to play. It's basically Bellyache says jump or play this position. You say how long or how much, how far.
Yeah,
that's sort of how it works. But
it's either you play what you get told to, or you're out of here.
Ricky Stewart, should he blow up the Raiders at this point in time?
He needs to make changes. But with the injuries that he has at the moment,
he's still got no Nickel Cookstad long term.
He could be out for the season.
Jared Croker's a week by week prospect.
Yes. With Sticky needs to make changes, but he's limited of what he can do.
And the bad news, and it gets even worse with the news this afternoon that George Williams has in fact been released from the remainder of his contract, essentially.
Yes.
Due to homesickness and to the fact that his partner is pregnant.
Yeah. That's a big blow for the Raiders. He has been, since he came over to the NRL in last year, he's made a massive impact.
Well, he's proven that English-born halves or outside backs can actually succeed in the NRL with the likes of Sam Tompkins, Joe Burgess, and Dan Sargentson have failed, essentially.
Yeah. But he's going to be a massive loss for the Raiders, and the rate their campaign is going...
I had the Raiders in the top 8, finishing 5th, because I knew they would struggle without John Bateman. But I didn't think this would be the result.
Oh, no. Now that Williams is gone, the indefinite return of Jared Croker and...
Just the second half fade-outs. They're basically becoming... They're playing to the same level the Broncos are at the moment.
Yeah. I don't see the Raiders making the finals anymore. They've got... Especially George Williams being out. That's a big loss for him. But... anything can happen. The Raiders still made the finals without Josh Hodgson a couple of years ago. So...
Well, even with Hodgson, do they even make the finals at the rate they're going?
Well, who knows?
Now, speaking of fading premiership contenders, the South Sydney Rabbitohs getting annihilated by the Penrith Panthers, 56 points to 12.
Even with Latrell Mitchell back.
You could have sworn Penrith rocked up the Dubbo. Isaiah Yeo, Matt Burton, they both made it clear they're Dubbo boys. And of course, Matt Burton had an absolute blinder scoring a hat-trick.
And they're all in a row too. 25th minute, 31st minute, and the 51st minute. So his hat-trick all in a row. You could say
the Rabbitohs weren't there. They did not turn up at all, and they let Penrith, either side of the field and through the middle, just walk over the top of them.
Nah. And it didn't get off to a good start as Cleary scored in the 3rd minute.
In 5 minutes, and Penrith were already over the board.
Well, half-time was 30 points to 6.
Yeah, only the Josh Mansour try, the bright spot of the Rabbitohs
in the first
half performance, and it didn't even get better in the second half.
No, because they only got one try then too with Cody Walker. So
it's already bad enough that South Sydney had already conceded 50. But this is the second time they've conceded 50 in 3 weeks.
In a very short time. No one has won a premiership from conceding 50 points at least once.
In 13 years of Australian Rugby League, no one has achieved that feat.
But to do it twice in the space of a month, it ain't looking good.
It's not looking good at all. Their defence has just been walked over the top of. I would honestly think, many have made this point, that Damien Cook would actually be in doubt for Origin at this point in time.
Well, he hasn't been playing his best footy. Like last year where we saw with the new 6-game rule and that, it was going to suit him, which it did last season. But this season, something's not quite.
I mean,
right.
Souths aren't rolling forward. That's obvious. They haven't had the ball at all.
No, but I thought this game was going to be really close.
I think everyone was expecting this to be a lot tighter.
Were a premiership threat, and it could have gone either way. But no,
and it seems
to be
increasingly likely that Wayne Bennett will end his time at South Sydney not with a bang, but with a whimper. And a big-ass whimper with... I mean, especially considering that's now more than 130 points the Rabbitohs have conceded in 3 weeks. Yeah. And 2 of those results were 50s.
Yes. Look, I went through some previous things through the past week and looked at Wayne Bennett's final club records from his clubs that made the finals or grand finals or something. So the first one that Wayne Bennett was up at Brisbane, he won the grand final in his second last year. Then last year they didn't. Come down to the Dragons. His last year then they didn't make the grand final and got knocked out in the finals. Come to Newcastle, did absolutely nothing because he was in a bad place. Knights weren't as good then. Well, better than what they were in that 15-17 period. Went back up to Brisbane. They made finals, but not the grand final.
No, they did make the grand final.
But lost. And then he's come to South, made the finals, and could be out of premiership contention. So basically, his last years at the clubs have come off at the back of not making the grand final again. So his last season at clubs haven't been as good as what they had been the years before. Yeah. If that makes sense at all.
It's weight of expectations, because, I mean, he is one of those who historically has carried the Supercoach tag.
Yes.
I mean, 7 grand final wins in 9 grand final appearances with 3 clubs.
Yeah.
But I think modern day, you would say it's either Craig Bellamy or it's Trent Robinson.
Yeah. I don't know if Bennett's going to be this is his last year and that's it, or he's going to go somewhere else and coach, such as the new Brisbane team that we still don't know.
There are questions everywhere. I think the South Sydney side, there are questions that need to be asked. Because how could you have 50 put on you and Latrell Mitchell is playing?
Yeah. I thought Latrell Mitchell coming back would have absolutely boosted the Rabbitohs because it's an all but full strength side, minus
Cameron Murray
and Campbell Graham.
No, Campbell Graham was playing.
Sorry. Well, minus Cameron Murray. And that didn't happen. That's it.
Yeah, that is it.
Rabbitohs should have been a lot closer than what they were. Now,
the final result, and I definitely felt emotion played heavily on this one. The Manly Sea Eagles downing the Parramatta Eels 28 points to 6. And I think this honestly came as a shock to everyone. But unfortunately, we lost another grand member of the rugby league family with the recent passing of basically one of the first immortals in Bob Fulton.
Yep. Unfortunately, passed away at age 73 after a long battle of cancer.
That no one knew about.
No. He kept it away from the public spotlight.
What was he? I mean, a Manly legend.
Absolutely.
I think he was a 5-time premiership winner, 3 in his playing days, and then the next 2 as the coach.
Yep.
He was also with the Australian side, 40 test matches he coached, as well as playing for. And this is for a lad born in Warrington, raised in Wollongong,
Yeah.
and cemented himself only a few years after retiring as up there with the likes of Clive Churchill, Reg Gasnier, and Johnny Raper as the first 4 immortals.
It's pretty big names that as the first 4 immortals, he's up against them big players.
You're talking Churchill, Gasnier, they're like South Sydney and St George royalty.
They definitely are, or were. But it's very, very sad. And Manly, obviously, well, they had been playing good footy in the lead up anyway, but this got them over the line. And another team that beat Parramatta at Bank West.
Yeah, it's starting to mount up, but the Eels' home record is overall. But there are bigger problems. Parramatta's right edge has flared up again.
Yes.
Considering Brad Parker got a double, Ruben Garrick went over, as well as Tom Drabojevic.
Again.
Yeah, he is a freak, Tommy Turbo. 1 try, 2 try assists, 323 running meters, and 8 tackle breaks.
That's unbelievable. 323 running meters.
Not only did Manly do that, they broke the Eels down on their right side defensively, but Parramatta were also shut out by a wall of maroon.
They were. And only got the only points in the first half, and they all kept scoreless.
That is a very good defensive display that Manly put on.
No doubt about that. It's been one of their best so far this season.
And Josh Schuster as well, the man recruited by Bob Fulton to join Manly, having played in the Parramatta Junior system.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another Parramatta Junior that's ended up at Manly in their system, and he's been rewarded for his patience. And of course, starting at 5A with no Cade Cust.
No, who got ruled out a day or 2 before the match.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a late change, but he managed and he got there in the end, and he played pretty good.
The moment I heard, and condolences to the Fulton family, the moment we heard of Bob Fulton's passing, my immediate thought was, this could be a real danger game. I think Manly could come out and do Bozo proud.
Well, even if Bozo hadn't passed, it could have been a danger game. But even more so when Bozo passed.
Yeah, an absolute
2 legends lost so far this season.
First class performance from Manly there. Does this affect Parramatta's premiership credentials?
Possibly. We had to wait and see how their Origin players back up afterwards.
Well, I think it would heavily depend because I don't think Gutherson will get there, given the logjam on fullbacks and centres.
Yeah, depending if Pappenhausen's fit.
And that's a big if. Most likely, Regan Campbell-Gillard has got to face the NRL Judiciary Committee. Junior Paulo, Ryan Manison, now that the second row stocks have really thinned up, and Nathan Brown, as well as the potential that Reid Marnie gets named for Queensland alongside Harry Grant. That would also be a massive
depending
if.
if Harry Grant is fit or not to play.
There's a lot. And breaking news. We have just had this come through from the NRL Judiciary Committee that Victor Radley has been suspended for 5 weeks, meaning he has failed to get one of his charges downgraded.
Yeah. So, big blow for New South Wales and for the Roosters.
Freddie will be ripping his hair out.
Oh, yeah.
And the Roosters will be in trouble again.
Yes.
And without one of their best ball-playing locks in the game.
Yep. But who does that play? Well, who does Freddie choose now?
I think
there's plenty of stocks.
I'm afraid this will have to be a question for next week when we will officially unveil our State of Origin sides for game one, if it is hosted at the MCG in June.
Because there is a bit of a doubt at the moment.
Now, moving on, we have our round 12 previews, and we start off Indigenous Round with the Brisbane Broncos up against the Melbourne Storm. No real changes for the Melbourne side, but Jerome Hughes is back in the lineup, so he returns the halfback, and Cooper Johns is pushed back to the reserves for Craig Bellamy's side.
As for the Broncos, last 18th man last week, Tui Robati has been named to make his debut off the bench in jersey number 17, with Reece Kennedy starting to replace Matt Lodge, who is out suspended. Anthony Milford, third time lucky possibly, is back in Sunderland after Tyson Gamble was out. But Albert Kelly's gone to halfback and Milford's in a 5/8. Farnworth is back after being late withdrawal last week, meaning Dale Copley goes back to the reserves lists. And other than that, it's a pretty unchanged lineup.
Looking at the way the Broncos played, they made a meal of the Roosters' right edge defensively.
They definitely did.
David Mee bagging a hat-trick, including some of those were long-range efforts when they tried to get up in the face of Sam Walker, after the platform that Pangai Jr., Haas and Lodge laid early. So now they've got to back it up again, but they are coming up against the Melbourne Storm, and
who are a lot stronger than Roosters.
And a lot of the Suncorp meetings they have had have seen Melbourne score in excess of 40 points.
Well, we could see that again. We possibly will see that again. But the rate that... I know it's going off by one match, but the Broncos can give it to a top team such as the Roosters. They could give it to the Storm, but as I said, the Storm will be stronger than the Roosters because of all the injuries.
Well, the return of Hughes softens the blow that they have been suffering. I mean, with no Pappenhausen, no Munster, Harry Grant been in and out of the side.
So they've still got Brendan Smith and now Jerome Hughes coming back in. So it's starting to get back to full strength. I reckon it's going to be Melbourne.
Yeah, I still think, despite the way the Broncos played against the Roosters, I think they won't be able to match it the same pound for pound with the Melbourne Storm, who are still the defending premiers and still have a lot of potency in the backs and strength in the forwards. So I would have to say this is a Melbourne 13-plus victory again.
Yeah, Melbourne
13, if history is anything to go by.
Melbourne 13-plus. Probably to win by... I'm going to say 30. Just 30.
Just 30.
Just 30 Melbourne will win by.
Now, moving on, we have the first Friday night game with the North Queensland Cowboys playing host to the New Zealand Warriors. A couple of changes for Nathan Brown's side. Edward Cossey drops out of the side, with Eli Katoa elevated to the start in the second row, with Ben Murdoch-Masila returning to the bench. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck named to start on the wing, with Reece Walsh at fullback, and why wouldn't you have that? Other than that, no other changes on the bench apart from Rocco Berry being returned to the reserves.
Yes. For the home side, the North Queensland Cowboys, Cohen Hess is back to replace Jason Talamolo, who's out suspended. That's at lock. And Hamaso Tibiwa-Fido takes the place of Connolly
Lemu, I think it's pronounced.
Yep. Who's out injured. Lachlan Burr and Francis Molo are out, which means Peter Holler and Corey Jensen are on the bench, with Lukey retaining his spot on the bench.
And Tom Gilbert also lifted the starting prop.
Yes. This one, who knows? This one's a tough one to
Well, the Warriors were able to demonstrate defensive resolve when the Tigers were coming for them late.
Yes.
And it was the same story when they met at Gosford only a few weeks earlier.
That's right. Yeah.
But Reece Walsh is now not a bench weapon. He is a starting fullback. So I think this changes the dynamic of the Warriors completely.
But you have to look at the form that Scott Drinkwater's been in. especially Murray Tulagi, who had
A blinder against the
blinder
Knights.
last week. Holmes has been playing pretty good at the last few weeks, so it's a flip of a coin. But Jason Talamala's not there, so that's a big
not
guy.
having Taumalolo really swings this in favour of the Warriors, especially with a forward pack with Evans, Katoa, and Ben, and with Bunty Afoa and Ben Murdoch-Masila coming off the bench. That is a lot of firepower you got to deal with.
It definitely is, and if two of us, Sheck still plays well with Walsh at fullback, so that's good. I think they're forming a good, strong combination there, Walsh and two of us, Sheck. Like I said, Drinkwater's playing good, so it's going to be really hard to choose a winner and who's going to come out on top. This game could go into golden point.
The weakness in the middle for the Cowboys will hurt them with no Tal Malolo. And of course, the factor that is Reece Walsh with his passing and kicking game, especially against the Tigers, where he's not afraid to go long. Even if he misses, he'll still throw that same pass until it sticks. And the Cowboys' right side defensively will be very nervous if he tries to duck down that side, putting a kick for Montoya, set up a cut-out pass for Pompey, or even in the other way around. I would have to go the Warriors 1-12. I think this will be an entertaining clash, but I think the Warriors come out on top here.
I agree. It's going to be probably it's an entertaining match to start off the Friday games. I reckon Warriors 1-12 to win by 8. It's a tight one. It could go either way.
Another game that could go either way. The West Tigers in your main Friday night game, playing host to the St. George Illawarra Dragons at Bankwest Stadium. Carnage has reigned supreme at St. George Illawarra. There is no Josh Kerr, so Billy Burns is elevated to the second row alongside the returning Tarek Sims. Jared Beale comes into the centres for his first game after coming out of retirement to replace the injured suspended Max Fear guy. Either way you look at that. Braden Willie Army moves on to the wing with Cody Ramsey shifting the full back. And I believe if Jayden Hunt maintains his place on the bench alongside Junior Amone, who drops back to the bench alongside Poasa Farmasili and Daniel Alvaro.
Yes, there's nothing new there that we've been shot in the foot yet again. As for the Tigers, James Roberts is back on the win after being 4 weeks out. With his return, Tommy Talau goes into the centre, and Joey Leigh Lewis dropped out of the squad yet again. And Jake Simpkin also drops off to the interchange with Tom Amoni taking his spot. Look, the Dragons only played the Tigers, 3 weeks ago? Just before Magic Round, I believe.
In Legong, when Zach Sini
made his debut, yes.
And that Southern Concourse could have got levelled that day.
Yes. But this is at Bankwest Stadium.
The Tigers don't play well there at all.
No. So that does swing in our favour. But we're still not at full strength by far.
I'm also concerned about the Dragons' attitude coming off that loss, especially in a narrow golden point defeat.
And what's your theory about golden point losses? Or 1 point losses?
1 or 2 point losses that the team doesn't back up the week after and they get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah. That has been proven wrong.
On occasion. But it has also been proven right.
99 or 98% of the time.
It's a flip of the coin, but it usually is they fail to back up the week after.
Yeah. But the rate both teams are playing, it really comes down to who's got the better team on paper. And who's got more strike power. With Gerard Beale coming back out of retirement, he's going to be pretty rusty.
I definitely think they would target him, and the Tigers would definitely go at the Dragons' right edge because of that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. It depends if Corey Norm can kick better goals. Or
Jack Burt, because he did step up late. It's hard to. I think this is a hard one to pick.
If Dewey keeps playing how he has been going, the Tigers would win this one if Dewey keeps playing how well he has been.
But I gotta go. I think the Dragons just sneak home 1-12. I think the Bankwest Stadium factor will be playing heavily on the Tigers' mind, and they have been heavily inconsistent where the Dragons have shown more resilience.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the Dragons. Purely based on the record that Tigers have at Bankwest Stadium is absolutely shocking. So Dragons 1-12 and win by 6.
Now, the Saturday triple header, the Penrith Panthers up against the Canterbury Bulldogs. I'm just gonna... Yeah, funny man. You got to play them eventually too, you know.
I know.
Anyway, a poor sarcastic humour aside, there is no... there's been a whole slew of changes going on for Trent Barrett. Jack Hetherington is back in the starting side. God help us.
And he'll be back out again.
With Arva Siamonafanai dropping back to the bench. And Jackson Torpenny comes in with no Sione Katoa due to suspension. Matt Dury forms a new second row combination with Adam Elliott and the returning skipper Josh Jackson. Yes, he's back in the lineup at last.
About time.
Along with Bradley Dietz and Joe Stimson, with Corey Waddell, Alan Renoff returning, dropping back to the reserves, alongside Kyle Flanagan. And included again, whether or not he actually starts for the Dogs remains to be seen.
As for the home side, Kurt Capewell has accepted a 1-week ban with an early plea. So Moses Leota is going to slot...
Liam Martin, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. Liam Martin shifting... Yep. Sorry, I'm getting me positions mixed up. So Liam Martin's going to go to the second row. Dylan Edwards is out yet again with a hamstring injury. So Steve Crichton goes to fullback and Paul Homorowski finally makes the return up. Well, being available again. He's been available for a couple of weeks, but because Matt Burton's been playing great footy at centre, he's staying there. And yeah, so Momorowski's back. Goodbye, Bulldogs. Goodbye, Jack Hetherington, for another 3 to 5 weeks.
No, we're not making comments like that on this platform, aren't we?
No, sorry.
You want me to break out the concrete boots again?
No.
Yeah, you
I mean, you can if you want. I don't mind.
If I'm in the mood, I might.
Okay.
But for the moment, look, even though the Dogs really tested the Titans and it got within 4 and within victory with a good second half performance, if the Rabbitohs get destroyed by 56, what hope did we have?
Very little.
So,
none.
So I'm going to say, for the safety of my credibility, not to be an idiot, I'm going to say Penrith win 13+. Yeah. Shut up, Mark.
Hey, I can't talk too loud at this spot. We lost to the Sharks and we lost to the Tigers and all that la-di-da. Anyway, yeah. It's going to be not pretty for the Dogs. Penrith been at home. We know the record at home. We know the record of the season. They put 56 on the South Sydney. Last time these two played, the Dogs were held scoreless. And I think it was a 40...
28. 28-0. The final score.
28-0. So, I'd say the Panthers will win. 13+ and win by 26. I'm sorry.
I was thinking the same way. Because it's going to be ugly, regardless of which way you try to spin it. Now, the real interesting clash. The South Sydney Rabbitohs up against the Parramatta Eels. 2 contenders who have had their credentials shaken up in recent games. One change for the Eels. Oregon Kaufusi lifted into the front row with the suspension of Regan Campbell-Illard, and that has paved the way for Murata Niokore to make his return via the bench, as well as Will Penasini, another option for Brad Arthur's side.
As for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, Cam Murray and Jacob Host have been named to make returns, with Liam Knight and Jane Sewer going back to the reserves list. Mansell will miss this week, and Tane Milne makes another appearance for this 2021 season. Jai Arrow has been promoted to start at prop, with Tom Burgess going to the bench to bring obviously strike power and strength during the match. Hamo Sele joins the bench and Jed Cartwright is out altogether.
But the biggest addition, the return of Cameron Murray.
Yes, that's a big positive for the Rabbits, considering they got absolutely annihilated last week. It should turn things
Parramatta got outclassed by Manly, but Souths were completely destroyed.
Yes.
There's no two ways looking about this. If I'm looking at a side that could bounce back better than over the weekend, over the performances they put in, I would have to say the Eels have the upper hand. I mean, defensively, there are still concerns on that right edge for the Eels with the combination between Arthur, Madison, Walker Blake, and Blake Ferguson. But if they switch it up with Marata Niokore coming in, who was a very good centre when Walker Blake was out,
True.
Parramatta stiffen up their right edge, and I think he could offer up something more as well in attack.
But Souths have just got that extra strength player back in with Cam Murray, and he's going to be big for him in the middle of the park, which is what I'd say they missed during last week's match.
I don't think Cam Murray would have made any difference. The way
not really.
The way Penrith played, it wouldn't have mattered if you had all of South Sydney's best players, from Adam Reynolds to Greg Inglis to Clive Churchill and Sam Burgess. If you had South Sydney's team of the century play on the park up against this Panthers side. Now, I don't want to make it, but even the way the Rabbits were playing at that moment, even if you had fielded all the greats, Penrith would have still won handsomely.
Yes. I have to agree. No disrespect to any players.
It's just trying to highlight the position to where the Rabbitohs are at in contrast to Penrith.
True. I don't know. It's another flip of a coin game. It can go either way. One will be trying to bounce back and try and get their premiership hopes back on track by getting belted 56-12 and also lost to 50 earlier in the season. But
50-0 to Melbourne.
Yes. So they'll be trying to get their premiership season back on track. And as for the Eels, they'll be trying to get back on track. Not as badly, but hopefully a bit, you know what I'm trying to say, come back from a bit of an upset.
I think there is no confidence in the Rabbitohs, and I think Brad Arthur will be quick to seize on that, and I think Parramatta will come away 1-12 victors.
It's who's got a better record at Stadium Australia, really. Eels play well there, but so do the Bunnies. I'm going to say the Rabbits to win by 4 in a 1-12 margin.
And the final game on Saturday night, we have the Sydney Roosters up against the Canberra Raiders. And as we alluded to earlier, George Williams will not be there for the Green Machine, nor will he be here for the rest of his career, depending how things pan out. So Sam Williams retains his place in the halves as Jack Whiten returned at 5'8". Josh Hodgson makes his way back onto the bench after a 1-game suspension. Jordan Rapana comes back in at the expense of Semi Valame. And I believe Dynamis Louis maintains his position at starting in the front row. As well as Brad Schneider being bumped back to the reserves alongside Hudson Young and Harry Ashton. Now,
mass changes at the Roosters. As we've already said in our breaking news, that Victor Radley is out for 5 weeks. So, and Angus Croyton is facing the judiciary panel as we currently record this episode, or this part 1 of the episode, I should say. Where do we start? So, Radley is out, so Isaac Liu comes in to replace him at lock, with Takiaho promoted to start up prop. Daniel Saluka Fafita is on the bench. Josh Morris is returning from a back problem, which sees debutant last week Joseph Suwali drop back to the reserves. And I think I've covered everything.
Well, there are mass problems at the Canberra Raiders.
Oh, yeah.
If you were to say this clash 2 years ago, or even last year, this would have been an absolute blockbuster. That could have gone either way. But the way the Raiders have been playing, they have not won a game. Well, they have won a game, but they haven't won since round 10. And their win-loss record is far from appealing for a
It-
top 8 finish.
It very much is that case. And the Roosters, that was...
Oh, the Roosters are going to be out for blood after the way they got rocked by the Broncos.
Yeah, but the Raiders, they've been getting out to the leads, but then they can't just hold them on. Everyone just goes over the top of them.
They need to drastically improve their defence, but I can't see it. And I think the Roosters will rub even more salt in the wounds by running out to a 13-plus margin.
Well, they have nothing against Sawali, but they have got experience of Josh Morris back. And he's been a try-scoring weapon this year. Roosters 13-plus by, let's say, 22.
And now the first of the Sunday games sees the Cronulla Sharks on the road to the CX Coffs International Stadium in Coffs Harbour to face the Gold Coast Titans. One massive in for the Gold Coast side. David Fafita is back in the second row for Justin Holbrook's side, with Beau Fermor bumping back to the second row, Sam Stone out, as well as Isan Masters going to the reserves, with Ash Taylor named in the reserves as well. Whether or not he receives a late call-up remains to be seen for the Titans.
For the Sharks, with Hiroti, Dugan and Teague Wilson all out due to suspension, Renato Mulatello takes Hiroti's spot on the bench.
On the wing.
On the wing, sorry. Teach Wilson is replaced by Talakai, and Raymond is back to fill the centre spot vacated by Josh Dugan. Sean Johnson is again named in the reserves.
In the halves. Townsend has been bumped back to the reserves.
Yeah, which is a bit of a surprise. And Andrew Fafita's back on the bench after being left out last week, taking young Billy Magulia's spot. I think Ash Taylor will make a late inclusion.
So you think Ash Taylor will come in and he will take the place of Tanner Boyd?
Yeah. But the one the big bit that has surprised me is Chad Townsend getting dropped to reserves.
It is a bit bizarre. It is very bizarre that the man that wins you the game and 2 competition points to keep you away from the bottom 2 of the ladder is dropped for Sean Johnson.
Yes. But you can't get rid of Matt Moyle either.
No, you can't.
He's been playing good.
Well, you could try. I mean, they have.
Well, yes. At least you could have put Townsend on the bench. And do like a similar thing what Souths are doing with Benji.
I'm looking at Gold Coast left edge. Now that David Fafita's back, he'll be looking for a big performance to just ultimately solidify his place in the Queensland Origin side. Because he is going to start, and he's going to be probably one of the first men picked.
No doubt.
I can't look past a Gold Coast 13-plus win here.
Yeah. And it's at a neutral ground as well, so...
I don't think even if the Sharks do come to Coffs Harbour, they're going to leave with any real rewards. They're probably going to end up with more pain and misery, and people probably calling for the head of the interim coach.
Yeah, but as you said, David Fafita's back, which is a big boost. So Titans win 13 plus and precisely 14 points.
And the final game of round 12 of the National Rugby League sees the Newcastle Knights up against the Manly Sea Eagles. A couple of changes for Des as the side. Hamile Olakawatu has been ruled out, so O'Kal Lawton starts in the second row. A little bit bizarre, but Des is the mad scientist. Well, they don't call him the mad professor for nothing.
Yeah, true.
And in good news, Curtis Sirinen is back on the bench. And could probably swap with Lawton late. I would probably think before kickoff, really.
Possibly. For the Newcastle Knights, Ponna and Best are back on deck this week. Kurt Mann goes on fullback to 5/8 due to Ponna's return. Crossland is the new halfback. Blake Green is out of the side because he has announced this afternoon, as we said, his immediate retirement.
Which I believe will be a ploy to get Jake Clifford to the club with immediate effect to face the Eels in round 13.
And last week's debutant, Simi Sasagi, drops out to make way for Brandon Best's return. It's back in Newcastle, so it's been a while since it's well, not a while, but back in front of the crowd.
3 weeks.
Yeah, crowd faithful, or back in,
Look, I mean, Newcastle Manly. This will bring the house down. This will be a sellout crowd for sure.
Oh, no doubt about that.
But I honestly believe the way Manly have been playing, especially with Tom Trbojevic sniffing in around the ruck, this is going to be battle of the centre against the fullback with Kalen Ponga, because he'll know if they send this thing high, Tom Trbojevic is going to make nightmares. Is that Kalen will be honestly thinking Origin 2 2019 all over again when Tom Trbojevic literally leapt even further to the heavens.
Well, not only that, Jason Stubbs got good legs on him. He can jump pretty high. He's got his height advantage, so that will also help.
And the Knights' defence has been woeful. Their attacking options not there.
No,
and
it hasn't been.
And losing Blake Green doesn't help the cause either.
No, it doesn't.
I honestly believe this will be another no contest and Manly run out 13+ winners here.
That's the only way you can look at it. The Knights have been
diabolical from what everyone has rated them to be.
Pretty much. Yes, they get Best back. Yes, they get Palmer back, but that's not going to be enough to stop
the Manly juggernaut that is proving to really be the dark horse of the Premiership.
After everyone wrote them off at the start of the year.
Yeah.
It's going to be 13+ in favour of Manly, and they will win by 26.
Well, that is all our NRL content covered, our round 11-12 debrief, I should say. Stay tuned for the Betfred Super League debrief for round 7 and round 8, coming up very shortly.